Hey guys, welcome back to the Property Tank. Pumped for another episode today. We're post-election. We're a week on. Dust has settled. Labor's got in for a second term. For me, nothing changes. Business as usual. Let's go, guys. We've got to make money through property and making smart decisions that suit our own personal circumstance. So today's episode, we'll get into what the election means for us property punters, and also we'll be looking in and honing into the Melbourne property market, what the last month's been like and what we can expect in the next month or so, because it's a really important time, I believe, in the next month or so to make sure that we see the growth, hopefully an interest rate cut. So there's plenty of things to talk about. So stick around. Also, if you're looking to do a knockdown rebuild, dual occupancy or multi-unit development site, book a consultation, get across to Instagram, come say hello, Peter Kelly Official. We're dropping stuff there on the daily, lots of value there to follow along with. And also make sure you get in the Little Fish Network, become a fish, thank me later. It's free. It's a booming, amazing, supportive community in there. So make sure you get in there. All right, guys, let's get into the episode. Post-election, what does it mean for us? For me, I wasn't flat. I wasn't excited. It's just, let's get back to work. The government is still in power. Labor's still in power. They've made some promises. They've got some policies there. A lot of it is around first home buyers getting into the market, and they've tried to put things in place to tackle the supply issues. You know, I think all of it with a fair few holes in it. The Liberal Party was the same. It's a hard problem to fix, in my opinion. All right, guys, let's get into the policies. Here we are on the Labor government's website, what they've claimed to achieve. They've delivered smaller deposits to make it easier to buy a home. Building more rentals with stronger protections makes it harder for landlords. Working with states and territories to make renting fairer, harder for landlords. Increase rent assistance. Started the biggest housing build in Australia's history. I think nice use of words, started. Delivering more social and affordable housing, making a historic investment into crisis and transitional accommodation, unlock housing supply, not sure, banning foreign investment for 2 years on existing property, which they've done. So let's not get carried away. What they've announced to deliver 100,000 homes just for first home buyers. So that'll be interesting to see how that rolls out, because as we know, where are these going to be built? Are they going to be desirable? And for me, 100 billion, they're always unders, these guys, so that'll be amazingly under-spruiked. Expand access to 5% deposits for all first home buyers. So that'll help first home buyers. It'll make them more competitive to get them in. For me, the 20% is a good discipline, and it's essentially your training wheels before getting into property ownership. Going to teach you how to save and teach you how to sustainably pay your mortgage repayments each week, fortnight, month. So for me, it's a great discipline, and it is the training wheels before getting into home ownership. Now, the 5%, I like it. It's getting more people in, but will you struggle on 95% mortgage? That's sort of the trick. Now, I'm not saying it's easy to save 20%. People in the comments, 20%'s hard, and it's probably never been harder. But for me, maybe it's a happy medium. But I just hope that the people putting down the 5% really, I guess, create a discipline through that period and be able to pay down their mortgage and pay it down sustainably and not struggle on a 95% LVR, essentially. And into the next one, deliver smaller mortgages for first home buyers. So this is where the government gets involved in 40%, up to 40% of the equity of your property. So they're essentially a business partner that you're going to need to buy out at some point. So smaller mortgage gets you in there, but then you've got a joint venture with the government. Not sure about that one either. And the next one, they'll lead a national effort to speed up construction. Labor will deliver $54 million in targeted investment into advanced manufacturing, looking at prefabricated and modular home construction. Not sure about that one. We're in the development game. I'd need to see more on what they're actually proposing, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Modular home, not sure it is the answer. That's a totally another episode. And next one, invest $78 million into fast track qualifications for 6,000 tradies to help build more homes across Australia. I just hope the fast track isn't too fast, that these tradies are still learning their craft and turning themselves into good tradesmen and tradeswomen as they're leaving their qualification and going out into the real world, and they are good trades, not just more trades. All right, so they're the policies. That's what they've claimed to have done. This is what they're claimed to do. All right, so that's the policies. That's what they've claimed that they've done, and this is what they're going to claim that they're going to do in this term. It'll be interesting to watch. We'll watch with a keen eye, and we'll see what transpires. But for me, we've got to worry about what we're doing ourselves. We've got to play the hand we're dealt, and we've got to make money through property. All right, guys, let's get into a Melbourne property update snapshot. Okay, like I said, we had the month of April where, as you all know, we had long weekends galore. We had Easter rolling into Anzac, and then we had the election. Not that it was a long weekend, but it was the election weekend, so busy on that front. So tricky for real estate agents and vendors to plug in their homes in to get a clear run at a campaign. I know ourselves, we've got a lot of properties going to market. A lot of them we waited till after Easter, Anzac, and the election weekend that'll be going to market this weekend. A couple went to market last weekend on the election weekend. And then you got the properties before that were looking for auction dates. And obviously you don't want to have auction dates on Anzac weekend, Easter weekend, election weekend maybe. So we've had quite a disrupted month and a disrupted April, which is usually a bit common. This year we've had all those weekends stack up. Now we're into May. We're into some clear air. So what we're going to see is more housing stock hit the market when people have got a clear run for their campaigns. So that's going to be super interesting. So more property on the market, more campaigns happening and hitting the ground. So will there be enough demand in the market and enough buyers out there to mop up this stock? That's going to be super interesting. We've also got, in a week's time, we've got the RBA meeting and everyone tipping another 0.2% of a rate cut. What's that going to do to property? We obviously had the one in Feb. Now maybe, hopefully, for everyone out there, hopefully we've got another cut in May. Now, that's going to start to build some momentum. And you've got all the banks tipping between 1% and 1.5% cuts over the next 12 months. So if people can get confidence and get the cut in May, and they get confidence there's going to be more coming, it's only going to fuel property. So for me, it's going to be interesting to see how's the supply and demand work over the next couple of months. For me, it's going to be interesting because we are getting into winter as well. So we're going to have a spike of property sort of looking to be sold in May, June. Winter's traditionally a bit of a hiatus, so property listings may slow down, and then we're going to come out into the spring, and that will be another interesting place to watch. We'll be bringing you all those updates. Super interesting from a stock level perspective, but remember, we're going to be right in the middle of the rate cutting cycle. Sentiment's on the way up. I know sentiment's on the way up. We're still flat, but we're definitely in the recovery stage. So if you are looking to buy a property, are looking to invest, it's getting close to the right time, I feel like. So this cycle that we're going to go on in the next year to 2 years, I think is going to be a nice cycle. So you do you figure out your own timing to buy and what suits you. But from a market perspective, the signs are there and the signs are strong. All right, guys, before I wrap up, a few stats on Melbourne, right? Auction clearance rate this week was circa 60%. So up from last week. Tick. Median property value overall just shy of 800,000. So units closer to 600,000, houses getting closer to 930,000. All right, we've got prices still 5.6% below the 2022 peak. So we're still below the 2022 peak as the graph goes. So history tells us that we will better our best. So if you want to be a part of that, you should be looking. For me, demand is still moderate, but as sentiment increases, as interest rate cuts flow through, demand will increase. And I know for a fact that a lot of people around this country, especially investors, property speculators, they are circling back to Melbourne, Victoria. So that's going to be an interesting one. That's going to push some momentum. So when interest rates come off, property will gain some momentum. So it's now going to be Melbourne's turn. So that's going to be an interesting one to watch play out in 2025, and we'll keep you posted. All right, guys, let's wrap it up. Thanks for sticking around this long. We'll see you next week. Enjoy your week in property. We're going to keep these updates flowing through as we're watching, as we're seeing them. Super important we stay educated through this, watch what's happening, and keep our fingers on the pulse. So have a good week in property. See you next week. Remember, if you are looking to do a knockdown, rebuild, dual occupancy, or multi-development unit site, book a consultation below. Come say hello on Instagram and become a fish in the Little Fish Network. Thank me later. It's free. Lots of people. The most amazing property community in Australia currently, and it's building aggressively. All right, guys. Have a great week.